Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal, but before we get normal, this week's episode, Mrs. Weedman and I will be covering the latest and greatest in cannabis research, science, and health, some political news, international news, and then Mrs. Weedman's going to end it with some awesome cannabis culture. Now, Mrs. Weedman, let's get normal with this brand new pre-rolls that just came out called 290 Hybrid, given to us by Wake and Vape. And 290 Hybrid, don't really know what the strain is about. I didn't get much information on this, but I would like to thank Wake and Vape for their giving us this strain. And also, it's Wake and Vape's 2-year anniversary.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yes. Victoria Williams is a Black woman from Inglewood, entered the Illinois cannabis market with a dream. She was backed by faith, sacrifice, and a woman who refused to quit. From her first vape to pre-rolls and edibles, her new pre-roll line is a Chicago celebration with names like Inglewood, 290, and Ova East. This was in honor of Juneteenth. She released this line of pre-rolls on Juneteenth. And we at the Weedman 420 Chronicles, Mrs. Weedman and I would love and like to say congratulations on your success, Wake and Vape and Miss Victoria Williams, and to your team. Congratulations on your 2-year. We know how tough it is in this industry, and you've done it.
Yeah. And I want to say they've been very enjoyable. We've had a couple prior to the show.
Yeah.
And they were very nice. They were enjoyable smokes. And if you are newer to the show, you may not know that I don't have great taste buds. And I don't have a great sniffer. So I don't interject a lot of my opinion about the smell, the aroma, the taste of the flower that we consume, but you will see how it makes me behave.
There you go. And while I'm getting baked on this great 290 hybrid strain, Mrs. Weedman's going to tell you a little about 8decades.com.
Yes, head on over to 8decades, that's EIGHT, spelled out, decades.com, and there you will find our baby, our cannabis lifestyle brand. Mr. Weedman and I developed a beautiful rolling set that if you're watching us on video, you can see here. We've got it on display in the studio. We've got wonderful Miran violet glass from the Netherlands for storage for all of your edibles, flour, joints, whatever you need to store and preserve. It's a great space to put them. So head on over to 8decades.com, do some shopping, check us out, learn more about us, and sign up for our newsletter. That'll get you free shipping on your first order. As Mr. Weedman always says, supporting 8 Decades supports the show. So check us out.
And we can pay our producer, Shoddy.
That is right. Because that is very important. Because she's amazing.
Yes, we need her. So, Ms. Weedman, you've heard of Cannabis Campus. We've talked about it a lot, right?
Yes.
So, hey, everybody, Weedman here with a quick word from our friends at Cannabis Campus. If you're looking to get in the cannabis industry or expand your operation in Illinois, check out Cannabis Campus, a massive 217,000 square foot facility built to support cannabis businesses from seed to sale. With cultivation space, infusion, extraction, beverages, and transportation capabilities. A one-stop shop, Cannabis Campus is designed to help businesses grow. They also help navigate the complicated side of the industry, including facility planning, permits, regulations, and licensing. Want to learn more or schedule a tour? Reach out to Cameron Kuhn at ckuhn100@yahoo.com or send us a DM and we'll connect you. And also tell them the Weedman 420 Chronicles podcast sent you. And that is Cannabis Campus, everybody, here in the west side of Chicago. So check it out. So we had a great weekend. It was Father's Day.
Yes.
And Paulie came up and you and him worked on the barn, the electrical work. And I did the lawn.
Yep. Which is not an easy task.
Not an easy task. So, but you guys banged it out. Our son is an apprentice electrician, going to become his first year, and proud of him. And Mrs. Weedman and him were banging it out in the barn out there and knocking it out. Get ready, everybody. Woodstock is the stock to come. One day you'll be seeing this facility, this place. It's going to be amazing. hang out with Mrs. Weedman, smoke a doink, and walk the property. It's going to be awesome.
That's kind of the pipe dream.
Yes,
I
it
can
is.
see it if I look really, 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 really far out there. Tiny. There's a little shimmer of hope. And we're going to make it happen.
Yeah, we will make it happen. So, but it was a great weekend. Hopefully all your fathers out there had a great Father's Day. Uncles, moms that act as fathers and play fathers roles too. Hopefully all you out there had a great Father's Day weekend. Sunday was relaxing for you and you got to rest and smoke some big fat doinks. So happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. And, Mr. Weedman, I was doing a lot of thinking. I was reading this article about this guy. His name is James Duncan, and he has toured the New York City's dank and dangerous and bug-filled sewers. Do you realize there's 7,400 fucking miles of sewer in New York? And all the boroughs, all of New York, the boroughs and everything. Yeah, 7,400 miles. That's, for all you out there in internationally, 12,000 kilometers of sewer pipes.
That is a lot.
7,400 miles. That's California and back.
Yeah.
And a little extra.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy that just ran or walked or biked something every block in the city of Chicago. Not just city proper. Like, I believe that he did. So it would be kind of similar because the sewers run up and down every single solitary block.
Insane.
That's crazy. I think it took this guy weeks.
I don't know if he toured all 7,400 miles of sewers, but he was saying that forget mountain climbing, forget biking, forget skydiving, forget hiking. You want to go take a tour.
Ooh.
And it's illegal, though, I think.
Yeah, it is.
But go in the city sewers. Now, Mrs. Weedman, he was talking about, like, the worst part. He can get over a lot of stuff, but he goes, the cucarachas, the cockroaches, were so bad. They're all over the place. You can't escape them. And they just fall on you when you're walking in the...
No.
He goes, forget it. There's no snakes. There's no alligator. There might be one. Who knows?
We're not talking like your little German cockroach.
Oh, we're talking like he's talking about all
like,
different types of cockroaches, like monsters, but there's bazillions of them. Like, you can't
and
escape
rats,
them.
Right?
But he doesn't. Yeah, but the cockroaches, he said, and they just fall on you when you're walking down in these sewers. So I have a question for you. And actually, that 290 just kicked in. Wow. Wake and puff. Thank you. Forget Mr. Weedman Stone. But so if there was a dare for you to go into the sewers of New York and you had to walk at least a mile, how much money would it take? And you can wear anything you want.
Can I be like in a covered
you can
and
be anything you want, but you have to leave your bare face, like you have to leave something exposed. Maybe not your face. Something has to be exposed, though. So that's the dare. How much money would it take you to do
leave
this?
like my elbow?
It's fine. One part of your body has to be exposed.
Okay. Well, I would put on a scuba diving suit because it's super tight, so nothing could get in anywhere, right? Like hat, whole thing, right? Like a full suit. And then I'd probably put on like a beekeeper suit.
Okay.
So then I'd have loose over tight. So double, like they're not going to get on that. And with the beekeeper hat. And you can maybe see a hand.
A hand? You'd leave a hand out?
I don't know.
So if a cockroach just started running around your hand, you would really like that?
Can I just leave like the top of my hand exposed?
I don't care. I said you have to leave one piece.
A section of my
one
arm.
piece of your body.
Yeah.
Oh, really? A cockroach
but then I tape
curling up your arm?
I tape.
You had to have one piece of skin out.
All right. You could have...
but it has to be a certain amount.
You could have my entire forearm.
Ooh.
They're not going to stay on there long, right?
So you would tape your arm, though, so they couldn't get in there?
Oh, yeah.
And you have to walk a mile.
Tight.
A full mile.
Okay.
You get to bring a flashlight.
Okay.
No food.
I wouldn't want to bring
no water.
Food. No.
Just a mile.
I would run.
Walking.
I would be done really quick.
How much would it take for you to
white
do?
lightning.
How much would it take?
In my beekeeper suit.
How much would it take for you to do that?
I don't know. I don't think it would take too much. If you let me wear all that stuff.
How much would it
We'd
take?
have to work out the logistics.
How much would it take?
I don't know. How about like $10K?
That's all you would do it for? Wow, I thought you were going to ask for like $100,000 or something.
What are they going to do if you're covered? What are they going to do to you? They're not going to like lay eggs on you and hatch and get under your skin.
Listen,
become
I
like
know
a
you.
Sci-fi.
This guy ain't talking about like there's one or two. He's talking about he's
I'd
walking
be more afraid of
and
the
they're
dark.
crawling up the walls around you.
That's terrible. That's horrifying. But the dark would even be more horrifying.
Well, if
might
your flashlight,
pop
what happens if your
out?
flashlight?
Oh my God. I would literally have a stroke.
If you flash, because you only get to bring one flashlight.
I'd be dead.
And it has to last that full mile of sewers. So no,
I think it's more like
and you don't have a map.
What else?
You have to go a mile.
Oh, and you got to find your way.
There'll be markings for you.
Okay.
But no map. No, they'll just be like a marking, like an arrow.
Yeah, so you can't go too fast because you don't want to miss your arrow.
Right. And it's going to take you to the exit.
Oof.
So if
what would you do it for?
I would do exactly what you said clothing wise, because you know me, I don't like touching really much anything. If I have gloves on, I'll touch anything. So I would do your outfit, but I would wear I would make sure I'd have a fully charged 24-hour headlamp on instead of holding a flashlight, because if you drop that flashlight, you're fucked.
Yeah, but if it's up here, then that's going to attract so many more bugs to your head.
I don't give a fuck.
I do.
I'm wearing a fucking beekeeper suit and everything.
No. Oh, and then don't hold the flashlight in the hand with the arm that's exposed, because there will be so many bugs on that arm. Wow.
So, like I said, though, I would wear the outfit, but I would wear a full 24-hour thing. And so I'd have my hands free, both hands free. So
are there other people?
No, you're by yourself.
You have to be alone.
By
now
yourself.
the alone in the dark. That's
but you'd be able to, but
part.
You'd have to have a camera, like attached to you. Yeah,
like
live
feed.
Yeah.
Can people talk to you?
No.
Ooh.
You're on your own.
Can they? Well, they could come find you if you're dying.
Well,
if you're having a heart attack because your light bulb went out.
Yes, you have a full 24 hours. Let's just say, to get out. Like,
24 hours? I want to be out in like 20 minutes. 1 mile takes 20 minutes.
But you have
walk.
to understand something.
You can run it in about 5.
You have to understand something.
Good.
That might not be a straight shot.
Yeah.
So, and you
Still
have to keep track
a mile's
of
a mile. It doesn't matter.
I get it.
Unless you get lost.
2,800 feet.
What if you got lost and they couldn't
find you? Is it 2,800 feet in a mile?
Imagine.
What?
If you got lost and they couldn't find you.
Oh.
You took too many rights.
You took 7,400 miles and you went the wrong direction.
Like over on Escanaba. 79th and Escanaba. Like, why are you there?
Don't make fun of 79th and Escanaba. That's where I used to get my weed from back in the day. I got my homie still there. Oh, so you would do it though.
The more I think about it, the more I don't want to do it.
I'm in your
even
head.
For 10,000.
See, I would do it for 100.
I fear getting lost.
I would do it for $100,000.
Yeah.
I would definitely do it for $100,000, and I would definitely. And you have 24 hours. I mean, you're probably going to do it in like 2 or 3 hours, but you have 24 hours.
I don't want them to give me more than 3 hours, because that means there's the potential that I could be there longer.
There's a problem.
2 hours max.
Houston,
if I don't come out, you have
to
come
have
get
a problem. Mrs. Weedman's lost in the sewer.
Someone has a whole army of people have to come find me. Oh my God, that would be.
But you still have your camera, and you'd be like, "Help me!"
Yeah, but I don't know
it's
where
a live feed.
Well, you just pop your head up out of a sewer.
Well, they drop you in some sewer. Well, it was safe. Only one person knows what sewer you got dropped off in.
Yeah, you just get out. And you're just in the middle of wherever you are, and you call a cab. It's New York.
I have a feeling you would panic.
Yeah.
For a second. Like right when you first get down there, you would. When you saw the cucarachas, millions around you. I
jumped in the middle of an ocean into a dumb cage that had
with
big,
sharks?
wide openings, and I swam with sharks.
We were in the cage, and there were Galapagos sharks. They weren't great whites. They were Galapagos sharks.
You remember, there were like
I have
windows,
pictures.
and I didn't understand, like, why isn't there a bar in that space? Like a large.
I wasn't. That's a shark. That's a shark.
Come through
That's fine. We were all having fun in the shark cage, but you don't like bugs.
Yeah, the bugs.
At all.
Really, that would be terrible.
Sharks are cool.
Yeah.
You being in that fucking sewer when you first get down there and they close that manhole cover on you.
You know how dark it would be? Okay, let's move on. Let's
You ready to
move
get
on.
the show started?
Yeah.
Let's do this. I'm baked.
I'm pretty
This is
baked.
actually really good.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're out there in a dispensary, find this 290 hybrid. It's actually fucking pretty legit. I'm stoned as fuck. Thanks, Victoria. Should have warned me first. So we're checking out this article from Green State called "Why Are Weed Strain Names Getting Weirder?" And let's be honest, cannabis strain names have officially entered the WHO approved this name. I came from the beer industry. I worked in the beer industry for a very long time. There's a lot of strange beer names too now. I mean, going back when I was in the beer, we heard some names of going, whoa, that's like, what is it though? You know? So I understand now there were names starting to run out to call stuff too in the beer industry. Like, what do you call this beer? You know? So you would reuse a name. Like so I think this is going to happen with how many more strains are going to be coming out and crosses that are going to be coming out, the new names. There's a lot of new stuff that's going to be coming. We're just on the beginning phases of all this. So back in the day, you had names like Blue Dream, Sour Diesel, Granddaddy, Perp cannabis strains, right? Names that gave you at least a clue about flavor, aroma, or lineage. But today, walk into a dispensary and the menu can sound like the candy aisle, comedy club, a science experiment, or all mixed together. We're talking names like Cheetah Piss, Permanent Marker, Unicorn Poop, Meat Breath. I've had all of them except for Cheetah Piss. And before anybody asks, nope, nobody's actually putting a cheetah anywhere near the grow room or anything to get these names. These names are often about branding, aroma, genetics, and simply creating something memorable enough that customers stop scrolling and say, wait, what was that? What was that? The reason behind the madness is pretty simple. Cannabis has become a competitive marketplace. Growers and brands are fighting for attention, and a wild name can become part of the identity. In today's cannabis world, a strain name isn't just a label, it's marketing. It's the same reason companies spend millions creating memorable names for sneakers, beverages, and technology. Except cannabis growers look at the strategy and say, hold that 8 decades rolling trade for me, Ms. Weedman. But there's also a bigger conversation happening, unlike wine, where regions and naming systems can help identify products. Cannabis strain names don't have a universal standard. That means two products with the same strain name might not always represent identical genetics. A catchy name can sell the jar, but it doesn't necessarily tell the full story about cannabinoids, terpenes, or cultivation quality. That's way more cannabis consumers are learning to look beyond the funny names and pay attention to things like terpene profiles, cannabinoid percentages, growing practices, and the reputation of the cultivator. Because let's be honest, a strain called Grandma Couch Blanket might sound ridiculous, but if the flower is amazing, nobody's complaining after the first hit. The cannabis industry has always been creative, and these names are just another chapter in the culture. Some names tell a story, some make you laugh, some make you wonder if somebody named a strain after their grocery list after getting distracted halfway through. At the end of the day, whether it's called purple something, banana, whatever, I can't believe this actually is a strain name. The plant still has to back up the name. Because in cannabis, the packaging might be your attention, but the terpenes bring you back. Cannabis strain names have gotten so creative that pretty soon we're going to see the strain called Forgot Why I Walked In Here. And honestly, that one might sell out. I remember the TED, what was it, TED 2 with the bear and Marky. They were smoking weed, and they were the strain names they were saying. I can't remember. I should have looked up the strain names, but it was funny. It's like that movie was like already 10 years ago, I think, when it came out, and they were talking about like, yeah, I forgot why I walked here, kind of stuff. One was orgy something. I can't remember, but going back then, they were saying like strain like names like, yeah, like what am I smoking?
Yeah,
like people back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s just called it pot. You know, if you heard of a strain name, you heard of a strain name, you know, but most people just like Ma 420 said, it's just pot. That's what we called it. So, all right, Ms. Weedman, sleep.
Yeah.
Tell us about this new study that science of cannabis and sleep extends beyond THC. Tell us.
All right. I'm pretty baked.
High as fuck.
Pretty baked.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is from Marijuana Moment. For years, when people talked about cannabis and sleep, the conversation usually centered around one cannabinoid, THC. The classic thought was, smoke some weed, get sleepy, hit the pillow. But a new study is suggesting that the bedtime story of cannabis might have a few more characters than just THC. A new systematic review and meta-analysis published in the Journal of the American Association of Nurse Practitioners looked at the relationship between medical cannabis and insomnia, and researchers found that the strongest evidence for improving sleep was actually linked more to CBD, CBN, and combinations of those cannabinoids, not THC alone. Researchers reviewed nearly 4,600 studies and narrowed them down to 18 studies that met their criteria, with 7 studies included in the final meta-analysis. These studies looked at different cannabinoid formulas, including CBD, CBN, THC, and combinations delivered through capsules, oils, tinctures, and sublingual products. The results showed that medical cannabis was associated with improvements in several areas, including less sleep disturbance, longer total sleep time, and reduced daytime sleepiness. But here's where things get interesting. THC-based products did not show the same level of consistent improvement and were linked to more side effects compared to CBD and CBN-focused options. The researchers found CBD doses between 50 and 300 milligrams and CBN doses between 20 and 100 milligrams showed the most consistent improvements in sleep quality and duration. Lower dose CBD products, especially those containing less than 50 milligrams, generally showed limited benefits unless combined with CBN. Now, before anyone starts raiding the dispensary sleep aisle looking for a bottle labeled CBD plus CBN equals bedtime magic, researchers point out an important issue. Many products marketed for sleep may not actually contain the cannabinoid amounts used in clinical studies. Basically, the label might say sleep, but the science might say, hold up, what's actually inside that package? The study does not mean THC has no place in sleep management. Many consumers still report benefits from THC, especially when dealing with issues like pain or anxiety that can interfere with sleep. Yes, I need the THC too, for sleeping. But the researchers say THC's reputation as the sleep cannabinoid may be stronger than the scientific evidence that is supporting it. Side effects reported in the studies were generally mild to moderate and included things like drowsiness, dry mouth, dizziness, and stomach-related symptoms. Researchers also reminded consumers that cannabinoids can interact with medications, especially blood thinners, cardiovascular medications, and psychiatric medications. Cannabis and sleep might not be about finding the strongest THC product and hoping for a knockout. The future may be more interesting as the plant's full lineup is better understood. While THC has been getting all of the attention under the cannabis spotlight, CBD and CBN might be stepping onto the stage saying, hey, remember, we're part of the band too.
Mm-hmm. Sleep.
It's
so hard.
Tricky.
Lately, it's getting harder and harder to get up in the morning, though. Like my alarm goes off at like 6:45, and I don't want to get up. So I don't until after 6.
Couple snooze buttons.
A few. Not a couple anymore. It's like 3, 4. So 7:15. I know it's just weird. I don't know why I just set my alarm for 7:15 wake up, but I just don't because I don't want to get up.
Right.
Sleep, like we're older, getting older now, and you always have to get up and go pee sometime throughout the night now, whether it's like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning. So you wake up and the edible is like, if it's like 4 or 5 in the morning, that edible is hitting hard. Like I'm like a zombie walking to the bathroom.
Sometimes you wake up and you're like,
fucking,
whoa.
And angry
that you're awake.
That I was sleeping so good and I had to get up to pee.
Yeah. And
then I'm like basically falling asleep into the wall in the toilet because I sit down and pee. I don't want to stand up. I'll miss the toilet bowl. I can't even open my eyes. I'll be sleeping standing up. So I sit down and pee. And if guys, you haven't learned that yet, sitting down and peeing is great.
And then next thing you know, your head's laying on the wall.
It's great. It's great. So then walking back to bed, you get in bed And you're like, well, you get in your head for a second going, man. And then all of a sudden you fall back to sleep. But it's like, you got to get back into that REM state again. It takes a minute. And it's just like, oh. And then you wake up and you hear that alarm. You're like, oh, mother. Man. And you're just so mad. And you don't want to wake up because you're laying next to a beautiful woman who's warm and a dog in between the two of you. So it's just a comfortable situation. So sleep is
It's a
good.
comfortable situation.
All right. So here's some fascinating piece of cannabis research from Marijuana Moment titled, Marijuana Components Have Consistent Anti-Tumor Effects. And how's that word pronounced?
Remind me.
Glioblastoma.
Oh, neuroblastoma?
Thank you. And other
Something
cancer.
like that?
Yeah, isn't it GLIOBLASTOMA? If I'm reading.
Geoblastoma?
Thank you. That's it. So, and other cancer scientific review shows, and this is exactly the type of research that shows why continued cannabis studies are so important. A new scientific review looked at preclinical research involving cannabinoids in cancer models, finding that cannabis compounds showed consistent anti-tumor effects in certain cancers, especially in, what's that word? Blastoma.
Geoblastoma?
And
I don't
breast
even know if that's
cancer
right.
models.
Is that even a thing?
Researchers also found evidence that cannabinoids may have potential as tools that could work alongside traditional cancer treatments. This research was promising, but most of the evidence is still coming from laboratory and animal studies. Human clinical trials are the next major step needed to understand how cannabinoids could potentially be used in cancer treatment. The review examined how different cannabinoids, including CBD and THC, interact with cancer cells. Research found CBD showed one of the most consistent and favorable profiles because it has strong safety history and demonstrate anti-tumor activity across multiple models. One of the biggest areas of interest was, what's that word?
Is it glioblastoma?
That's it, glioblastoma. Thank you.
Sure.
An aggressive type of brain
Thanks, Google.
cancer has been extremely difficult to treat. Researchers noted that glioblastoma
There you go.
had some of the most reproducible evidence showing cannabinoids affecting tumor growth in preclinical studies. The review also looked at breast cancer models and found cannabinoids were associated with reductions in tumor growth. Researchers have explored combinations with chemotherapy and found some evidence that cannabinoids may enhance the effects of certain cancer treatments. Although scientists stress that not every cannabinoid combination works the same way and more research is needed. This is where cannabis science gets really interesting. The plant isn't just one compound. It's a collection of cannabinoids, terpenes, and other molecules that may interact different depending on the condition being studied. THC, CBD, the mother, CBG, and other cannabinoids can have every different effects, which is why researchers are digging deeper into the individual pieces of the plant. The big takeaway from this study is not that cannabis has become a replacement for cancer treatment. The takeaway is that science continues to uncover possible medical applications that deserve serious investigation. For decades, cannabis research faced major roadblocks because of legal restrictions. Now, as more studies become available, researchers are getting a clearer picture of where cannabinoids may actually provide benefits. And you know what's wild? A plant humans have been using for thousands of years is still sitting there like, hey, maybe study me a little more before making assumptions, right, Mr. Weedman?
That's right.
The future of cannabis medicine is going to deepen on more research, better clinical trials, and understanding exactly which cannabinoids may help which conditions. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to celebrate the plant, it's to understand what the plant can actually do.
Good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's beat that cancer. This is a good article.
Yes.
This is about moms, right?
Yeah.
A new generation of moms who get high.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Mr. Weedman.
Well, this story takes a look at a growing trend happening online called garden moms, a group of moms who are openly sharing their cannabis use as part of their parenting routine. The article from The Atlantic explores why some moms say cannabis helps them manage stress, stay patient, and handle the nonstop demands of modern parenting, while experts question whether using cannabis as a daily coping tool creates new concerns. The story follows mothers like Taylor Mitchum, a Colorado mom, who says cannabis became part of her life after the isolation and pressure of early motherhood during the pandemic. After pregnancy and breastfeeding, she returned to cannabis use and described it as a way to feel more balanced, calmer, and more capable of handling the everyday challenges of raising children. She now shares her experiences online, where her Garden Mama content has attracted more than 120,000 TikTok followers, and the hashtag Garden Mom has appeared in tens of thousands of videos. The trend is built around the idea that cannabis isn't being used to escape parenting, but instead as a tool for self care. Some moms describe using cannabis before the kids wake up, during nap time, or before the famous dinner, bath, bedtime chaos that every parent knows can feel like a battle. They say cannabis helps them become more patient, more playful, and less overwhelmed. Supporters of the movement compare it to the old wine mom culture, where alcohol was often portrayed as the go to way for stressed parents to unwind. The difference, according to these mothers, is that cannabis feels more intentional, less about checking out and more about taking the edge off so they can show up differently. But the article also highlights concerns from researchers and child development experts. They point out that feeling calmer while using cannabis does not necessarily mean someone is more emotionally available or better prepared to respond quickly when their child needs them. Parenting requires being able to read situations, make decisions, and react in real time, and cannabis can affect those abilities. Another concern is the strength of modern cannabis products. Researchers note that today, cannabis is very different from previous generations and what they experienced, with some products reaching THC levels around 90%, compared with roughly 4% in the 1990s. Higher THC concentrations are associated with increased tolerance and a greater risk of dependence for some users. The article also points out that the pressure placed on parents today has changed dramatically. Modern parenting often involves constant supervision, gentle parenting expectations, and the idea that moms should always be calm, patient, and emotionally available. Researchers say the combination of high expectations and limited support system may be pushing some parents toward different ways of coping. The cannabis industry has also taken notice. The article referenced a cannabis market worth more than $30 billion and notes that daily or nearly daily cannabis consumers represent a significant portion of sales. Some companies are beginning to recognize garden moms as an emerging customer group, with influencer partnerships and cannabis lifestyle content becoming part of the marketing landscape. The bigger conversation here isn't simply moms using cannabis, good or bad. It's a larger discussion about parenting stress, mental health, community support, and how people choose to manage the pressure of everyday life. Because, let's be honest, parenting has never come with an instruction manual. There's no check engine light for when your toddler is melting down, your coffee is cold, and you've answered the same question 47 times before breakfast.
Mom,
Mom,
mommy, mommy, mamu, mama, mimi, mama.
Mommy.
That is my Ma 420's ringer when I call her.
Mhm.
If it's Stewie from Family Guy.
Mom, mommy. But the question researchers are asking is whether cannabis is helping parents handle the pressure, or whether it's becoming something they feel they need just to get through the day. This trend shows how much the conversation around cannabis has changed. The plant is no longer being discussed in terms of recreation or medicine. It's becoming part of the conversation about lifestyle, identity, and how people navigate modern life.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty baked.
I am too.
Still.
Pretty comfortable.
Woo.
Yeah.
Pretty good there. 290. Oof. It's the name of the highway here in Illinois.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, one of them. One of the many. Political state and business news. Minnesota's hemp THC beverages industry is facing major uncertainty as lawmakers consider restrictions that could impact breweries producing cannabis-infused drinks. Some businesses warn that the changes could threaten jobs and revenue for a growing market. The hemp drink industry is fighting to stay on tap, but lawmakers are holding the corkscrew. Maryland's legal cannabis market continues bringing a major tax revenue, collecting more than $26 million during its first quarter. The money generated from the cannabis sales is becoming an important part of the state funding. Yeah, it is. Federal researchers are expanding their cannabis compound database, adding new chemical fingerprints to better identify and study molecules found in the plant. Scientists say improving cannabis research tool can help create a clear understanding of cannabinoids. A legal battle in developing over Illinois' reparations program after the federal government asked a judge to block the initiative. The case raises questions about funding, constitutional issues, and government authority. Politics, once again, proving that nothing moves faster than the argument with a stack of paperwork. A New Jersey cannabis farm allegedly operated outside regulations while supplying products in the state's legal marijuana market. The situation highlights challenges regulators face as legal industries grow and enforcement catches up. The cannabis industry is supposed to follow the rules, not create the underground expansion pack. The THC beverages are becoming a popular alternative for adults looking to replace the reduced alcohol consumption. More consumers are exploring cannabis drinks with social options without traditional alcohol effects. The beverage aisle is getting a little makeover because apparently the next party question is, what's your flavor, not what's your poison? Pretty good. Michigan invested millions into a state marijuana testing laboratory, but the facility still cannot legally test cannabis products because of the regulatory hurdles. Excuse me, everybody. Officials say the goal is into improving oversight and safety. Illinois cannabis marketplace continues facing criticism over where legalization created enough opportunities for small businesses and social equity applicants. Some argue the industry became concentrated among fewer companies than originally promised. You think? Washington cannabis officials say federal marijuana rescheduling changes may not automatically help state licensed businesses. Companies could face banking, tax, and regulatory challenges under current federal rules. Cannabis reform keeps moving forward, but sometimes it feels like finishing the line is jogging away. Restaurant industry groups are pushing back against possible federal restrictions on hemp-derived THC beverages. They argue these products have become a popular consumer choices and provide new opportunities for businesses. I think it's great. So the debate continues over whether hemp drinks belong on menus or in the regulatory penalty box. Illinois cannabis market is facing more criticism over industry concentration and concerns that a small number of companies control much of the marketplace. Advocates argue more competition would help consumers and small operators. A marketplace needs more players, otherwise it's less open market and more private smoke circle. I think that was from Jason over at Illinois News Joint too. Man, if you haven't checked him out, you're missing out. While Mrs. Weedman's having a little trouble lighting up her joint, it's her turn for political state business news. So
I was just getting cozy over here.
Passing that. Actually, you're passing the joint over to me.
I will. I gotta get a couple of hits first.
I don't know if I need it right now. All right, I'll take a hit.
Why not? Why not?
Maybe
Why not?
two. So tell us about
Have
that
some.
political
Yep.
state business news.
All right. Moving on with more political, state, and business news. The Supreme Court ruled that prosecuting a marijuana user, pardon me, 1 second. Prosecuting a marijuana user for possessing a firearm violates Second Amendment protections. Yes, it does. This decision could impact how cannabis users and gun ownership laws are handled moving forward. That's a big deal. A new study found cannabis branding and marketing styles may still appeal to younger audiences despite existing regulations. Researchers say packaging, colors, and product names can influence the public. The industry continues balancing creativity with responsibility. South Carolina Republican governor candidates said that they would be open to signing a medical marijuana legalization bill if it reached their desks. Support continues growing across political lines as more states consider patient access. Progress takes time, and most of us know patience is key. Michigan lawmakers are considering limits on marijuana business licenses as the industry faces pressure from tax increases and market challenges. Officials say changes could help stabilize their market. Virginia's hemp businesses are facing uncertainty as lawmakers consider changes before the state's legal marijuana market launches. Some operators worry new rules could force them to close early. The DEA has identified several parties planning to oppose marijuana rescheduling during upcoming hearings, while supporters continue pushing for federal reform. The debate shows how complicated cannabis policy remains. Federal officials have started inspections of marijuana businesses, seeking protections connected to potential federal rescheduling changes. The inspections are part of reviewing how cannabis companies operate under existing laws. U.S. states have generated more than $28 billion in recreational cannabis tax revenue since legalization began. The money has supported programs, services, and government budgets nationwide. It turns out the cannabis plant can grow more than flowers, it can grow funding, too. North Carolina lawmakers are reacting to Virginia's upcoming cannabis retail plans as neighboring states watch the industry develop. The discussion could influence future cannabis decisions in the region. Michigan universities continue facing restrictions on studying cannabis on campus, creating challenges for researchers. One university even moved research efforts off site to continue their studies. Scientists want answers, but sometimes it feels like cannabis researchers need a permission slip signed by every parent first. That's a tough one. Vermont's governor signed legislation increasing legal marijuana possession limits and allowing future interstate commerce opportunities. The changes could help expand the state's cannabis market, showing that sometimes a little more room in the garden can lead to bigger growth. The cannabis conversation is shifting beyond legalization and toward what comes next. That includes regulation, business growth, consumer safety, and industry improvements. As markets mature, states are figuring out long-term strategies. And that is it for my segment of the news. It's back over to Mr. Weedman.
Thanks, Ms. Weedman. The DA's administrative judge has laid out the process for upcoming marijuana rescheduling hearings, setting the stage for another major federal cannabis debate. The proceedings will examine whether cannabis should move under federal law. After decades of waiting, cannabis reform is finally getting a courtroom spotlight. Somebody grabbed the popcorn because this hearing could be a long one. Despite ongoing challenges in the cannabis industry, entrepreneurs continue investing in the building new businesses. Operators are navigating regulations, taxes, competition, and market changes while searching for opportunities. The cannabis industry might be complicated, but growers and businesses owners keep showing up. North Carolina lawmakers are unlikely to move forward with the proposal that would allow voters. I think
Is that what that is?
the whole fucking time.
Oh my
It was
gosh,
driving me
it was driving me
crazy.
nuts. I kept moving my can.
Sorry, everybody.
Just kept hearing this little.
If you hear this fizzing sound,
Yes.
it was this friggin' bottle of Pellegrino I'm drinking. I didn't close the cap all the way.
Ugh.
All of a sudden, I was like, what the fuck? It sounded
I
like
heard it.
1,000 fucking mice in my ear.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is going on? Sorry, everybody. All right. Federal officials
I'm
are
glad you figured
preparing
that out.
updated guidance of marijuana use.
What am I hearing?
And firearm rights following a Supreme Court decision involving cannabis and the Second Amendment. The move could provide more clarity around federal enforcement. Wisconsin continues seeing growing interest in marijuana legalization as advocates push for access and reform. Residents and lawmakers remain divided over the future of cannabis policy. NORML is asking the DA to reconsider its request to participate in marijuana rescheduling hearings after being denied a role in the process. The organization argues its perspective represents important cannabis policy history, and decades advocating to reform NORML isn't exactly the type to sit quietly in the corner. No one puts NORML in the corner. The legal cannabis industry experienced job losses for the first time as businesses face market pressure, competition, and changing regulations. The industry is adjusting after years of rapid growth. Cannabis jobs have been expanding for years, but even the green rush hits rough patches. Every garden needs pruning, even the business side. I know that for sure. My keister hurts. A congressional amendment could expand marijuana waivers for military recruits who test positive for THC. Supporters say the changes could help more qualified applicants enter services despite previous cannabis use. Times are changing, and the old one mistake, no chance approach may be fading. Even Uncle Sam is updating the rule book. Virginia lawmakers approved legislation to legalize recreational marijuana sales, moving the state closer to launching a regulated adult use market. The proposal would establish a framework for the future retail sales. Virginia is planting the seeds for a new industry, and now everyone is waiting to see how tall that garden grows. California gubernatorial candidate says the state's marijuana taxes and regulations are too high and need reform. Nice. The comments come as business continue dealing with market challenges. California's cannabis industry has plenty of potential, but many operators say the road has too many speed bumps. Sometimes the biggest weed problem isn't growing it, it's the paperwork. Now, Mr. Weedman, that's the end of political state and business news. And now, please tell me why the cannabis industry forgot who built it.
Yes.
Tell me about it. This is a good article.
Yeah, we've touched on this, and it just is important to continue touching on it. This story comes from High Times. It dives into one of the biggest conversations happening in cannabis today, the tension between the culture that built cannabis and the corporate industry that grew around it. The article argues that as legalization has expanded and billions of dollars have entered the space, many of the people who carried the plant through prohibition, growers, activists, caregivers, and legacy operators, feel like they are being pushed aside in the very industry they helped create. For decades, cannabis existed outside the legal system. The people growing, sharing, and advocating for the plant were often risking their freedom, careers, and sometimes their personal safety. Long before there were dispensaries with fancy displays and investors looking for the next big market, there were underground growers, caregivers, patients, and activists building cannabis knowledge one plant at a time. The article's main argument is that legalization brought legitimacy, but it also created a new challenge: access. Instead of police raids and criminal charges being the biggest obstacle, many small operators now face expensive licensing, heavy regulations, taxes, banking issues, insurance costs, and competition from larger companies with deeper pockets. Basically, the battle changed uniforms. The old enemy wore a badge. The new one sometimes wears a business suit. The article points out that legalization did not create cannabis culture. It found a culture that already existed. The demand was already there, the consumers were already there, and the expertise was already there. Legal markets simply created a new framework around something that had been thriving for generations. A major concern raised is that many legacy operators who helped develop genetics, cultivation techniques, and cannabis knowledge are struggling to survive in regulated markets. Some people who spent decades mastering the plant now find themselves competing against companies that arrived after legalization with access to investment capital and large-scale operations. The article also discusses how the industry's focus can sometimes shift away from the people and traditions that made cannabis unique. The concern is that cannabis could become just another commodity, where the conversation revolves around price, THC percentage, and market share, instead of the growers, the communities, and the stories behind the plant. And that brings up a debate every cannabis community seems to wrestle with. How do you build a legal industry while still respecting the people who kept cannabis alive before it was profitable? Because let's be honest, the people who built this culture weren't chasing quarterly earnings. They were protecting a plant they believed in. The article also recognizes that legalization has created opportunities. Thousands of jobs have been created. Consumers have access to tested products, and patients in many places have safer ways to obtain cannabis. The argument is not that regulation is bad. It's that the system needs to make room for the people who helped create the foundation. Period. One of the biggest challenges facing the industry is finding that balance. Cannabis needs safety standards, it needs testing and accountability, but many advocates argue that those rules should not eliminate the small farmers, craft growers, and longtime operators who help make cannabis what it is today. The story fits into a larger conversation happening across the industry. Who gets to benefit from legalization? The investors, the large corporations, the consumers, or the communities that carried cannabis through decades of prohibition? Because at the end of the day, cannabis didn't start with a boardroom meeting. It started with people, passion, and a whole lot of plants. And maybe the biggest question for the future is this. As cannabis becomes a bigger business, can it remember the culture that made people care about it in the first place? A plant can become an industry, but the industry shouldn't forget its roots.
Ooh,
Boom.
ooh, left,
Yeah.
right, left, right.
Yeah.
Ooh, one in the gut.
It's so important, and
So
that's
good.
just what's happening.
So good. So good. Such a good smack in the face. Right in the kisser. Pow. Pow. To the moon, Alice. International news. Authorities in Europe seized a record-breaking 12-ton cannabis shipment and arrested 3 people connected to the massive haul. The bus highlights ongoing international efforts to disrupt large-scale trafficking operations. 12 tons is a lot of fucking cannabis. Good lordy. Mountain region in Morocco, known for generations of hash production, is facing the changing relationship between traditional cannabis farming and government regulations. Local communities have long depended on the crop for income and the culture. This area has been growing hash for decades, everyone. I mean, oof, give me some. France is moving forward toward new medical cannabis regulations as officials review research showing potential reductions in opioid use among patients. Supporters say medical cannabis could become another tool for the healthcare providers. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials announced the seizure of thousands of pounds of marijuana connected to an international smuggling effort. Authorities continue monitoring the large shipments entering the country, going from Baltimore. They busted it, yeah. Vancouver's cannabis culture has long been connected with the music and arts communities, creating a unique creative scene. The city's relationship with cannabis has influenced local artists, events, and culture. Sometimes inspiration comes from a paintbrush, sometimes a guitar, and sometimes from sitting back and saying, I have an idea. India's Himachal Pradesh government approved plans to regulate cannabis farming, allowing farmers to grow the crop under controlled conditions. Officials say the program could provide new economic opportunities through high-value agricultural productions. Nice. Berlin's cannabis scene continues evolving as the city hosts events celebrating cannabis culture, education, and community. The growing acceptance of cannabis across Germany is creating new opportunities for business and consumers. Berlin has always had creative personality, and now the plant is joining the guest list. No invitation needed, just bring good vibes. Amsterdam's famous coffee shops are often misunderstood, with many visitors assuming they operate like traditional cafes. These establishments have unique rules, regulations, and cultural history surrounding cannabis sales. Tourists arrive expecting one thing and learn quickly. Amsterdam has a system, not a free-for-all. Even the cannabis capital has a rule book. And there's international news, everybody. All right. Summertime and living's easy, right?
That's right.
Just hanging out in Woodstock, Illinois.
Well, we sing this song.
Right? First day of summer was on Sunday on Father's Day. It was the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. So, barbecue city time. We got all the good, fun summer stuff, block parties, 4th of July, Labor Day, you have, and everything in between, weekend parties, pool parties, weddings. It is to season where everybody's happy, everybody's getting vitamin D, and they're out more and wearing shorts and feeling that cool breeze at night and just warm air in the day. And it's just so wonderful. Everything's alive right now. Birds are flying. Trees are blooming. Everything is green and lush.
Yep.
Summertime.
July is like prime summer.
Summertime
in the Midwest
is here.
Yeah.
So Mrs. Weedman is going to tell you the secret to a successful summer weed sesh. I'm good right now on that 290.
Yep. I'm going to tell you all about it. So, sorry, I had to have a little smoke there because it just seemed appropriate.
Summertime and living's easy.
So we've got this final article that we're going to talk about, right? And it's a nice light story. And this is from Green State, and it takes a look at how cannabis is becoming part of the summer social scene, with more people rethinking the traditional party setup and creating events where cannabis is treated more like a lifestyle choice, similar to how people have incorporated wine, craft beer, or cocktails into gatherings for years. For a long time, cannabis was something people enjoyed quietly, usually away from the spotlight, and definitely not something you'd put on the party invitation. But as legalization expands, cannabis-friendly gatherings are becoming more common. From backyard private celebrations to large events and festivals where consumption is allowed in designated spaces. The article points out that hosting a cannabis-friendly event is more about uh, is about more than just putting out a tray of edibles and saying, "All right, everybody, have fun." Good planning is key. The host needs to think about local laws, your guests' comfort levels, responsible consumption, and making sure everyone, from the most experienced to the first-time consumer, feels welcome, right? One of the
Hold on, I gotta say something. So
What?
Mrs. Weedman and I would always throw our July 3rd party, and it was always weed involved.
Mhm.
And Mrs. Weedman would always say to me, "You know, we're gonna have people here that don't smoke weed. Don't be crazy. Don't just start handing out joints to everybody like you always do and smokes. There's gonna be people here they may not like weed." And what would I say?
Too bad.
I don't give a fuck. This is my house.
They
If
can
don't
leave.
like it, they can leave.
They can leave.
I pay the bills of this motherfucker,
Yeah.
and that's how I live. If I go to their house and they don't want weed, I respect that.
Yeah.
I'll go walk down the block and take a walk. You
Right.
know, I mean, I know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, but my fucking house. If you don't like it, don't fucking come. Go ahead, sorry.
All right. Well, this is a little gentler approach, right? One of the biggest suggestions is creating options. All right, Mr. Weedman, options, right?
Options, I got
Not
you.
everyone consumes cannabis the same way, right? Some guests might prefer flower, others might choose edibles, beverages, or simply just being in the community without even consuming at all. A good cannabis-friendly event is less about everyone participating and more about creating environments where adults can make their own choices. Yeah, no peer pressure. The article also highlights the importance of having a designated consumption area. Just like you wouldn't want someone walking around spraying perfume in everyone's face at a party, not every guest wants to be surrounded by the smoke. So create a specific space that helps keep things comfortable, organized, and respectful.
I respect the people that
Yeah.
they didn't smoke, and like I didn't offer if they told me no, that kind of stuff.
No,
I
you
wasn't-
should just have a little. Come on, just have one puff.
No. If someone told me no and they said
Yeah,
no,
if they said it firmly.
I respected that.
Yeah.
You know, but I always bust ball. I'm like, you sure?
you
Nope.
bust
Okay,
chops.
good. I'd asked twice. Second time, no, I get you. I won't ask again. You
Yeah.
know, but they respected being in the house. There was going to be weed smoke, but I got you. If you don't have to, it's not your thing. All right. And then, you're drinking my expensive bourbon, though, fucking whole bottle of it.
All right, another big topic is education. Hosts are encouraged to help guests understand dosage, especially with edibles. Because let's be honest, we all know that one person that says, "I don't feel anything," and then 45 minutes later, they're staring at the ceiling like it's the Discovery Channel, right? Responsible serving and patience are important when it comes to infused products. Cannabis-friendly events are also becoming creative. Some gatherings are combining cannabis with food pairings, music, art, wellness activities, and community experiences. Similar to how cannabis festivals have evolved, these events are moving away from the old stereotype of people sitting around baked and are becoming more focused on connection and shared experiences. The growth of cannabis events also reflects a bigger cultural shift. For decades, cannabis consumers hid their interest in the plant. Now, in many places, people are openly incorporating cannabis into celebrations like weddings, festivals, and social gatherings, while still navigating the patchwork of state laws and regulations. The takeaway here is that a successful cannabis-friendly event is really just like any other good gathering. Good people, good food, good music, and good planning. And cannabis is just another ingredient in the recipe. Because let's face it, summer cookouts already have burgers, music, and someone arguing about who makes the best potato salad. So adding cannabis to that mix can really add good vibes to your party. And this shows how cannabis culture continues to evolve, that the plant that was once hidden is now becoming part of the conversation around community, creativity, and how people choose to relax and celebrate together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Summertime and living's
Living's
easy.
easy.
So, Ms. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
You got anything else to say before we go?
Everybody have a great weekend. There was something I wanted to talk about. Is it going to be 4th of July before we record next?
Yes. No, we'll
No.
record probably
Okay.
another show before
One
4th
more.
of July. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't need to say happy 4th.
No, go smoke.
Yeah. Go get baked. I don't know.
Have some fun.
Make a pie. Eat it.
Yes. I like to thank a million podcast again. Make a pie. Go eat it.
Oh, yeah. I guess I have the munchies.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I actually want to go chomp on something.
Yeah.
Like thank Million Podcasts that reached out to us again. We made it on the top 80 list again. I appreciate you, Million Podcasts, for throwing us a shout out. Thank you very much. Everybody out there in the world, we love you. Be kind, love one another, go live some fucking life, have some fun. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.